From the Helldivers to PSN requirements to Stellar Blade censorship, Sony has been facing the wrath of gamers over the past couple of days and weeks, but now Sony is striking again, ordering the Fate Stay devs to censor their PlayStation release Artbook included in physical limited editions of Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. I have talked about Sony so many times on this channel, primarily due to censorship and anti-consumer practices. They have proven time and time again that they don't really care about what we as gamers have to say as long as they're happy with the choices that they're making. And now, in the latest instance of the company unfairly turning their attentions to an East Asian developer, Sony has reportedly ordered the Fate Stay Night devs Type Moon to censor a physical art book set to be included in the limited edition of their upcoming visual novel Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon, from the PlayStation release of the package. So there is a lot to unpack here. As you can see, it is a physical art book set to be included in the limited edition of their upcoming visual novel, meaning you're not going to be able to just casually buy this anywhere. It's not like in 2 years you're going to be able to find it. The only versions you're going to be able to find are the censored versions when it comes to the PlayStation. Now, there is a bit of good news because this is also releasing on the Switch, and Nintendo is not forcing this censorship, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who only own one console. It might be a PlayStation, and now, unfortunately, if you want to support this and also play it, you'll have to buy a version of the game that does feature a censored art book. Now, as far as we know, the game itself is not censored, but it's still censorship of a product, in this case an art book, which has infuriated people. It says the first entry in Type Moon's ongoing efforts to remake the series of the early 2000s. It is a story that follows a character, Tono, a high school student who possesses the ability to see and manipulate the death lines of both people and objects, in turn bestowing him with the power to kill or destroy anyone or anything he sees fit. I've actually seen quite a lot of talk about this on Twitter/X over the past few weeks. A lot of people who have been very excited for this, but unfortunately now you might be a little bit less happy. So the developers did actually release a statement. This was from just a few days ago. Notice regarding the English release of A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. They said, due to differing platform publishing policies, the art book included in the physical limited edition for PlayStation 4 will be printed with graphic modifications to 2 pages, while the art book included in the physical limited edition for Nintendo Switch will be printed without the modifications. Despite these adjustments to the PlayStation 4 art book, the game will remain unaltered for both PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, and we apologize for the convenience and thank you for your support of Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. Now, this is a major problem because, yes, while again it is an art book, it is still content people expected, and we cannot trust Sony. So while they are saying that there are not going to be adjustments made to the game on the PlayStation 4, I don't believe Sony. It's not that I don't believe these developers necessarily, but it has gotten to the point where clearly Sony, only a couple of weeks before release, is backing devs into a corner and forcing them to change content, like we all believe happened with Stellar Blade. And so, while I think that obviously they have versions that are uncensored, I would not trust anything until the game has come out and people have compared every single piece of content. Now, of course, Nintendo is not perfect either. There is still censorship that happens on the Switch, but they are generally better, and I am glad to hear that if you still want a version of the art book that is not altered in any way, you can get the physical limited edition release for the Switch, which is fantastic. It is printed without the modifications, but a major win here is the fact that they were transparent from the very beginning, which is definitely something we have been lacking in Sony land over the past couple of weeks with Stellar Blade. You know, just days before release, we heard them at Shift Up boasting about how it was uncensored worldwide, and then we found out that that wasn't the truth. And they were not transparent about what was being changed or altered, just, oh, shut up and buy our product. And then we have the Helldivers 2 situation where they had not told us before release or even after release that eventually they were going to be requiring people to link a PlayStation Network account or your version of the game was going to be unplayable. But here we are getting some transparency, which is always something that I definitely think is so important. I definitely have to praise, because as consumers we do deserve transparency, and a lot of other people are saying the same things. Thank you for the transparency. Really glad to hear it. This is one of the images that we know is being censored, primarily because she's basically nude. I mean, she is wearing a cape. I think that this is a great art, by the way. I think it's important for me to say. We don't know the second image that is getting censored, but at the same time, I don't think that this should be censored. Any censorship is still too much censorship, and that will always be my stance. People are also pointing out things like after Sony censored Senran Kagura to the point the developer ended the series, that's when I said goodbye to PlayStation. There are a million reasons to say goodbye to Sony and to PlayStation, because yes, unfortunately, there have been series like Senran Kagura that have been, you know, unfortunately ended because restrictions have become so hard for them to work around. They could submit a full build of a game that they think is going to be great, and then, oh, here we have it, platform holder telling them to censor X, Y, and Z, and then they have to find another platform, or they have to alter it, and it is sad. Why did I get a PlayStation? What's the point of dealing with West Coast Sony anyway? Yes, ever since Sony moved their headquarters to California, they have turned into a nightmare, and of course they were a bit before that, but corporate DEI has definitely been their focus over the past few years, and unfortunately, we have seen Sony go against Japan, their place of origin, and they've been actively trying to appeal to what they deem are Western audiences with Western standards, aka sensitive snowflakes on social media who are simply a vocal minority of people who are never going to purchase products like this. So all you're doing is censoring products that people like me will no longer support because you've censored it. It's sad to say, but there is nothing at this point that Sony could do that would surprise me. They do not care about consumers. They do not care about their developers. The only thing they care about at the end of the day is virtue signaling, but also thinking they're doing things in order to make more money when really they're only pushing away customers who have been loyal to them for a very long time. And of course, if you are interested in this, I highly recommend staying away from the PlayStation 4 version in totality and just going with the Switch version, because there's no censorship regarding the art book. And of course, we don't know about the final product, and we are being told the final product on PlayStation isn't censored, but I would not trust Sony at all at this point, so I will be keeping my eye on this situation to see if there are any updates, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.